Hello everyone, I'm Santosh and welcome to my channel Learning Bits. And in this video, today we are going to discuss how exactly we are going to draw a flag using OpenGL programming and how we bring in the animation for the flag, something like it's going to wave. And when we're going to talk about animation to a flag, usually we need to discuss about or we need to bring in the concept of curve. And for that case, we are going to use the Bezier Curve algorithm or the Bezier Curve equation. And once we are able to bring in the flag and its animation, so let us control this animated flag using a menu. That is, through menu, we are going to either start the animation or we are going to stop the animation. That is what exactly we are going to do in this particular video, and that is what we are going to learn in this video. Fine. So just to start with that, so now when I'm going to talk about the Bezier curve, fine. So usually when you want to draw any such curves or any of such curves, you need to talk about the 4 points. You need to have these 4 points. The 2 points P0 and P3, we call this as endpoint, and the P1, P2, we're going to call this as control points. And the reason why we call these two as control points is that usually we are going to keep P0 and P3 to be an fixed point, or if I want we can alter, but these are the 2 points P1 and P2. The way you position P1 and P2 is going to exactly define how the curve is going to look into. And that is what when we're going to talk about Bezier curve, so this is what you need to understand, how exactly we are going to use the 2 endpoints and how exactly we are going to use the other 2 points as the control point. That is where we are going to have the 4 points. Whatever we are going to have, we are going to use these 4 points as the starting point and the end point, as well as the control point 1 and the control point 2. And now whatever in between this, using these 4 points, whatever the points we are going to compute, this is going to form a curve for us. And so now we cannot use any primitive what is available in OpenGL program to draw a line. So now we are going to draw this entire curve using the GL points or using set of points. That is what we are going to find all this set of points to draw a curve using these 4 control points. So now just to understand how exactly this control point is going to work with. And just look at this. The 2 endpoints are fixed. The 2 endpoints are fixed, and by just altering the control points, the curve is going to change. The curve, we can decide what type of curve, what amount of curve we are going to have. We can decide by just altering these 2 control points. That is what the advantage of control point is going to be, and that is what exactly we are going to bring into program in this video. Hence, now if I want to find all these points based upon the 4 points which we are going to use to draw a curve, that is where if I'm going to talk about point 1, it is x1, y1. Through this, I'm going to find one intermediate point which is going to be part of the curve. And next I'm going to have the next point, that is P2, which is going to be x2 and y2, and the third point x3 and y3, and the fourth point x4 and y4. I will not go in depth of exactly how this equation has been derived, but what I want you to is you need to remember these 2 equations, or we'll be using this equation in our programming whenever I want to form a curve or whenever I want to play with the curve to draw the curve what I need. Fine. So similarly, I'm going to have the equation to find the y value of the intermediate point, and so such intermediate points I'm going to find around 200 points, or I'm going to find 500 points or 100 points, depending upon how smooth curve you are going to draw or how smooth curve you do require. Fine. So in this regard, I'm just going to have the value of t. So this t value is going to depend in this equation, where this t value is going to start from 0, that is the point at the start point, and it will vary until 1, which will reach at the end point. Hence, if I want to find any intermediate values or intermediate points to draw a curve, you need to alter the value of t. Starting from 0, you can increment this to 0.01 or 0.02 and so on. You can reach until 1. That will give all the intermediate points. This is what exactly we are going to bring into the programming. Hence, so now my first job is I need to have 4 points, hence which is going to form me a straight line. So later on, let me modify the value of x2, y2 and x3, y3 as the control points, so that I can form the type of the curve what do I require. Hence, so in my programming I'll be using this values or these points as 100, 415, and this 2 control points I'll be making this as one part, so that I can split it out. I can make one point to go above and other point to come below, so that I'm going to alter the control points and I can have a smooth curve, kind of curve, whatever I'm going to have. And the 4th point I'm going to have 300, 450. Hence, if you observe, this entire thing is one single line, all the 4 points, hence the y value is same, 450 and 450, whereas the x value starts 100 from here and reaches 300 over here. And using this values, let me apply it to this equation and find the curve what I need. So using this particular equation and these points, so let us start programming. And so now let us shift to the programming and see how exactly this will be implemented. And for this purpose, so this is going to be a basic OpenGL program, where I'm just going to have a 2D environment. Hence, it is going to be a 2D program. Hence, I do require only a single buffer. Fine. And about all these APIs. So now how this API is going to work, or how this API is going to be, or what is the use of this APIs, you can please check out in my previous videos. I have clearly mentioned in detail what is the use of all these APIs. And with this, so right now if you just observe, this is the coordinate system what I do require. I do require the coordinate system origin to be at the bottom left corner, which is 0, 0, and I need the x value to be maximum value as 500 and the y value maximum as 500. That is what the left value is 0. I'm just going to have the left value to be 0. And I'm going to have the right value to be 500, the bottom value is 0, and the top value is 500. That is what I'm just going to use GLU Ortho 2D. Using this API, I'm making sure I can have the clipping window or the clipping area, which will be treated as coordinate system right now for me when I want to identify any point. So now whatever the points you identify, make sure the point will be within the range 0 to 500 and 0 to 500 in the y-axis. And so the usage of all these other 3 APIs have been discussed in the previous videos. If you want, you can just check it out. But right now, this is the APIs which will help me to draw this coordinate system. Fine. And so now what is my next job? I just need to have this 4 points in my program. I just want to have these 4 points to draw a line. And for that case, I'll just go to the draw function, and in the draw function, so let me define the variable. That is, right now I'll be having 4 x values and 4 y values whenever I'm going to have the 4 points which I'll be using to draw a Bezier curve. Hence for this, so let me use the array x of 4, and I'm going to use the array y of 4. Hence I'm just going to have 4 x values and I'm going to have 4 y values. Fine. And now with this, so let me initialize this, where x of 0, that is the first point, which is going to be 100, and let me initialize x of 1, so which is going to be 200, and x of 2, which is going to be again 200, and x of 3, which is going to be the 4th value of x, which is 300. And so I'm going to have 300 over here. And so I'm going to have the 4 values. What do I require? The 4 x values. What do I require to have the 4 points, which I'm going to use to draw? Fine. So now once x value is done, so let me put the y values in a similar way. So now y values are, every value is going to be similar, and so y of 0 is 450 and y of 2 is, or y of 1 is 450 and y of 2 is 450 and y of 3 is also 450. Fine. So now this is what the points I have been identified and I have been brought into. So now once this is done, my next job is I should be able to compute this entire points, the entire point starting from the initial point to the final point. I need to find all the intermediate point using this equation. And so how many points I may require between this two entire thing? So I have been at 100 and I have been reaching till 300 ends. So if I subtract this, so at the best level I do require 200 points, and for that I need to find 200 points. And so I'm going to have for I equals 0, I less than 200 and I plus plus. I need to find 200 points. Or let me remove this for loop. I'll just do it in a best way. So for that case, so let me have a variable GL float, so which is going to give me all the intermediate x values. For example, I need 200 x values and I'm going to have 200 y values. Fine. So instead of having the for loop for I value, so let me have the for loop for t, that is t will start from 0 and t will reach until it is 1, hence t is less than 1. And how do you increment the value of t? It depends upon how smooth curve you require. For example, let me give this as t equals t 0.2, that is every loop I will be incrementing the value of t by 0.2, or if I want I can have 0.1 also. So this is how we are going to use the for loop. So in similar way, I'm just going to, so in this for loop, let me find the first intermediate value. First of all, let me find the first intermediate value, that is xt of 0. I'm going to have xt of 0 that equals, I just need to bring in this equation now, and that is 1 minus t to the power of 3, hence I'll be using power function. So if this power is an inbuilt function and if your compiler doesn't support this function, please remember to include the mat.h library. So I'm just going to check out if this is not configured. I'll be including. If the compilation will go fine without posting any error at this function, then I don't require the mat.h. Fine. So in that term, I just need the power function, the power of, so 1 minus t to the power of 3. And so I'm just going to have this and multiply this with x1. So what is x1 in my case? It is x0. It's going to be x0. And so I'm going to have x of 0 and plus, so 3 multiplied with t, and this is again multiplied with this power of 1 minus t, comma 2, that is square, my 1 minus t whole square, and multiply this with x2, which is x1 in my programming case. So plus, so 3 into, so this again power, so power of t comma 2, that is t square, and so this is going to be t square, so multiplied with 1 minus t. Fine. So now this will be multiplied with x3. So in our case it is x to the power of 2, and I'm going to add this plus, so it is going to be t to the power of 3. Hence I'm just going to have power of t comma 3, that is t cube, so which is multiplied with x4, which is x of 3. Now this is done. So this is the equation what I have been brought into. This is the entire equation what I was supposed to bring into my program. Whatever the equation I have been written here, that is what I have been brought. So similarly for y, similarly I'm going to put it for y. Wherever I have been used x, I just need to replace those things with the value of y. And so just copy this and paste it over here, and this is going to be y. So y of t, so power of 1 minus t, this remains same. This is y1, and this is going to be y2, that is y of 1, and this is going to be y3, and this is y4. Right, so now when the execution of this is done, so this is going to find only one intermediate point. It's going to find only one intermediate point, and at t equals 0, it is going to find, and it is going to find all the intermediate points until the t reaches 1, but all the values have been stored in only one location. If I want to store different points at different location, different variable, I just need to store it in xt of 0, xt of 1, xt of 2, and so on. And for that purpose, so let me use this as I. So where I is going to be initialized to 0, hence I equals 0, and let me increment the value of I by 1 for every iteration, hence I plus plus. Now this should work for me. So this is going to give me 200 points. So now using the 4 points, I have been computed the 200 intermediate points using the Bezier curve equation by altering the value of t from 0 to 1, and whatever the 200 points have been found in the for loop, I am just going to put it on the display in the form of points. Hence I am going to have GL begin, and I'm going to have GL points, and let me enclose this with GL end also. And now in between this, I need to have the 200 points. Hence I'm just going to use for loop again over here. So for I equals 0, I less than 200, and I plus plus. And I'm just going to use GL vertex to I, or I can use 2f. So whichever you feel comfortable, you can use that particular version of GL vertex. And the first parameter for this is going to be the xt, the intermediate point, and yt, that is the intermediate point of 0. So now this is the first intermediate point. If I want all the 2 independent points, so just use this as variable I. Now this should work for me. Clear? So now let me compile this program and execute whether it's going to work fine or not. But before that I need to declare few variables. I need to declare the variable t, so which is going to be GL float, and I need to declare the variable I, which is going to be an integer. Right, so now let me compile this program. Fine, so when I compile this, I'll be having 0 errors. So there are no errors. So if I execute this program, now this is what I'm going to end with. I'm just going to have the points, able to find too many intermediate points in between. So if I want too many intermediate points in between, I need to make sure this is going to be an intermediate value of values. That is, for example, if I use 0.2, how many points I'm going to get from 0 to 1? It's only 5 points. That is what I'm getting, only 5 points in the complete line. So if I want to have smooth enough curve, so let me increase this. For example, 002, and if I execute this, so let me give this as 0.02. Fine. So this is going to get me enough smooth curve, because if you're going to increase these values, so the number of iteration will increase, and this I value will go out of bound. It will go out of 200. Hence use this value appropriately so that it's going to be between the value as 200. If any such errors occurs, so this is going to be some problem with the array bounding. And so make sure you're not going to increase this to too much. If you are going to increase this for more number of steps, make sure even you're going to increase the array size also. Fine. So now whatever I'm going to get, I hope this is smooth enough for me. And if you want to visualize this 2 more, I'm just going to increase the point size. Hence I'm going to give GL. I'm just going to use GL point size, and let me give the point size as 3. And now if I'm going to execute this, now I'm just going to get a smooth line. Fine. So this is the straight line what I was supposed to draw using these points. Now my next job is, once I'm going to have the points, I need to use this control points so that I'm going to get a wave. Now for example, for the same program, I'm just going to modify the value of y. It is the first control point, let me take it above, and the second control point, let it be on the same line for this instance. And so let me take this point to above by giving 500. I'm just taking the control point above, the first control point to be above the line what I have just drawn. And when I execute this particular, you can see the curve has been formed. Curve has been formed. So similarly, if I'm going to take this point below, something like 350 or 300, and if I'm going to execute this, so this is the curve what I'm going to get. Fine. And so now by altering this this control values, I can modify the values and get the curve what I require. For example, I'm going to have 550 over here, and I'm going to have 350 over here, and just execute. So this is going to be a proper sine wave. So this is how I'm going to modify the control points to get the wave which I do require. And so now I should be able to modify these values. If I'm able to modify these values continuously using some sort of variable, then I can get the animation. I can just change the wave by changing the control points, and I can make it like animating. I'm just going to make that animating by bringing or changing this values using a variable. And for that, so let me use a variable called as YA, which I'll be using for animation. And I'll be again separating this with YA, and let me add this animation value with this, so that when I say YA is 50, this will be 500, and this is going to be 400. And so now for that, so let me declare a variable as GL float. I'll be having GL float, and I'll be having YA is going to be 50 now. And just save this and execute. I'm just going to get a wave. So if you want, you can increase this value. If I'm going to say 150, I'm just going to get a bigger sine wave. Fine. So in similar way, if I'm going to modify this value starting from 1, I'll start the value of YA from 50, and I will keep on subtracting this. Keep on subtracting this until it reaches minus 50. In that case, I can form the animation into my program. So to keep on subtracting to bring in the animation, I'm just going to use a function called as Animate. So which is an inbuilt function, which is a user defined function, which in this function I'm just going to modify the value of this animation. And for that, I'm just going to have YA equals YA minus so whatever the value required right now. For example, let me use as 0.2, and later on if I want, I can change the value, and so I'll be saying Y equals YA minus 2. So now when I keep on executing this, if I want to execute the animation function, so let me call the idle function, which in loop will be keep on calling animate. And so I'm just going to pass this as a function call. And if I'm going to execute this, you can just see it will be keep on changing the values, and it will keep on decrementing the value of 50. And so now when I'm just going to have this value as, whenever I'm going to change the value of YA, and if I want to show it on the display, or if I want to update this particular information, I need to call the GLUT post redisplay. And now if I'm going to execute this, so it will be keep on incrementing, the value of Y is keep on decrementing, but I should stop at some point. So now where do I stop it? At what point I'm going to stop this decrementation? That is, I'll be decrementing the YA value until the YA value is going to be less than or equivalent to, or I can say greater than minus 50. Fine, until this point. So this should be keep on decrementing, and so if I execute, it will just keep on decrement and stop once the value reaches minus 50. And now once it is minus 50, again it should increment. Hence I'm just going to use the same condition now. I'm using the same condition, and I'm going to put it over here, and I will say when YA is less than 50, the YA is less than 50, I need to increment this. I will just say this, and I'm just going to execute. But just look at this. What exactly is going to happen is, when this condition is going to fail, I'll be incrementing, then it will keep on decrementing. Increment, decrement, increment, decrement. So without creating any animation. And for that purpose, so let me bring in one more variable called as a int or y flag. And initially I'll just make it as 1. And I should keep on decrementing this value when the flag value is 1. Fine. And I'm going to change the value of flag so that it's going to start incrementing. I'm going to change the value of flag whenever the YA value is going to be less than or equivalent to minus 50, and the Y flag value, if it is equivalent to 1, then I'm going to change the flag value to be 0. Fine. So similarly I'm going to do it for this case. I'm just going to copy this flag value, and I'm going to have this as 0, and let me copy this entire condition. And now whenever the value is going to be greater than or equal to 50, and the flag value, if it is 0, let me change the flag value to 1. So save this and compile and execute. Now you can see the animation. So this is how we are going to change the value of control points using the idle function callback, and we will see I'm going to have an animation in the curve. So this is how exactly we are going to bring in. But now just observe in this case, whenever there is going to be an animation, so if this is going to be a flag, if I am using this for a flag, you need to make sure that this end will be attached to the pole of the flag, and this end will be free. Hence this should also move. This should not be fixed one. This should also move. Hence I should be able to modify this also. I should be able to move this value also. Hence the fourth point, whatever I'm going to use, now even this should also modify. And so for that I'm going to use XA, that is XA animation. Hence for that I'm going to, along with YA, so let me use XA, so which is going to be equivalent to, or let me just use only the value as 10, and the Y flag value will remain same, or I'm just going to have this as X flag. I'll be using one more variable called as X flag, which is again 1. Fine. And now let me copy this entire thing, which I need to even do for the X values also. Hence I'm just going to copy this, and wherever the Y value is going to be, I'm just going to change this to X, so that it's going to even modify or animate the X value also. Fine. Hence I'm going to have XA, and this is X flag. So save this, compile and execute. Now you can see that even this is going to flow, but this values, whatever I'm given intermediate value, this is 2 intermediate value, so I need to reduce this intermediate value. So instead of giving this as minus 0.2, let me give this as 0.1. Give as 0.1, and now just check it out. and I think this is I think I need to still reduce this value. Let me give this as 5, xa equals 5. Yeah, and instead of reducing that, I just need to change one more value over here. So this should be 10. This should be 10. I'm just need to use this as 10, not 50, because I just need only a small amount of variation in the x values. Right? I know this is going to work fine, but to control the animation, let me replace this with 0.2 itself. I'm going to have 0.2 over here and execute this. Fine, so this is going to be fine, and you can modify the value the way you want so that it's going to match with your complete thing. Fine. Fine. Now in this case, you have seen how exactly we are going to have one line, and we are going to bring in the animation for the one curve in this program. And now in a way, in such a way, if I want to have a flag, I just need to have a rectangular type of thing. I just need to have a rectangular thing. Hence I have got one line. Now let me draw the second line. So that I'm going to have a rectangular strip, and I'm going to apply the same operation. If we just talk about rectangular, the x values remain same. This is the first line of the rectangle, the second line of the rectangle below this. Only the y value changes. The x value will remain same. X value will never change. Only the y value is going to change. Hence, for that case, I'm just going to have this as y1. Let me keep this as y1, and whatever the next values of y I'm going to have, let me use this as y2. Hence I'm saying this as y1. Hence in this equation I'll be using y1 when I'm going to find the intermediate values. And so this is y1, and this is going to be y1, and this is also y1. And similarly I need to have y1t, hence I'm going to use y1t here. So now similarly I need to have the second line to form a rectangular strip. Hence I'm going to have this as y2, and this is going to be y2. And if this is 450, so below this line, so what that value should be? It should be 400, or I can say 350. So we'll see how n of width is going to give. Depending upon that, later on let us change the y value, or what y value I need to have. Hence I'm going to have 350 over here. And so along with this variable, I need to have one more variable also. Hence I'm going to have this as y2t. And so similar to this equation, as x remains same, I need not recompute the x values. The same x values can be used. Hence I'm going to have y2. This is going to be y2, and even this is y2. This is going to be y2, and this is y2. So now just compile this and check it out whether it's going to work fine or not. Later we'll form this as a rectangular strip. Yeah, so this should be y1, and I need to have y2 of 4 also. Just a variable declaration error. Fine, so compile this. Yeah, so now in this case, when I want to draw, I'll be drawing the first line using y1t, and the second line I can just draw. Using the second set of point x remains same. I'll be using y2 of t. Fine, so now just compile this and let's check it out. Fine, I got 2 lines, but if you just observe, the width is, if you feel the width is too much, you can reduce the width. I can reduce the width from 350, so let me make this as 400. I'm going to make this as 400. So this is 400, this is 400, this is going to be 400. Fine, compile this and execute. Fine, so this is going to be fine for me now. And now along with this, so now if I want to form this as an rectangle, I'm just going to, instead of using GL points, let me change the primitive as GL quads. I can use GL quads. I'll just check it out. I'm just going to use GL quads and check it out. Fine. So now GL quads, it is not giving me good enough view, and so I'm just going to use GL quad strip. I'll be using GL quad strip and execute this. problem why we are getting this is, so now just look at this. I'm just going to have integer here. So instead of passing this as integer, because the x values is going to be of type float, and I'm drawing this in the integer values. And so now let me change this to double. Instead of using float, let me use this as GL double, and I'm just going to use this as GL vertex 2D, where I'm going to have the double value. And so I'm going to have double value and compile this and now execute. And now this right now this is going to work fine. This is going to work fine. So somewhere in between you're going to get the zeros. So we'll see how exactly this is going to work with. Fine. So now this is how exactly I'm going to draw the strips. And once this strips has been drawn, you can put it to any of the color you want. But right now I just want two strips to be drawn here. I just want to use the first strip, and I just want one more strip. I just want one more strip in this output, and so I'm just going to use one more y value, because using the 3 lines I can make it of two strips. And for that case, I'm just going to use one more value, that is y2t. Along with this, I'm going to have y3t. I'm going to have y3t, and I'm going to have one more set of y values. And this is going to be y3, and I'm just going to give this as 350. I'm going to use this as 350. And so let me copy this, and this is going to be y3, which is going to be of 350, and y3, this is going to be of 350, and this is y3, which is going to be of 350. Fine. So similarly, I just need to have the intermediate of y values also. And so wherever I am using y2, so just replace this with 3. It's going to be 3, and this is 3. It's going to be 3 for me. Fine. And now the first, or let me remove this point size. This is of no more use for me, and I'm just going to use the same quad strip function to draw the second strip. The x value remains same. I'm using y1, y2 here. Now in this, I'll be using y2, and I'll be using y3, and the x value will still remain same. So compile this, and I need to declare y3 also, and so y3 of 4, and now compile and execute. So now I'll be having two strips. So let me draw these two strips in two different colors. And now first let me draw it in GL begin. I'll be having GL it should be GL color. So GL color 3F, and let me draw this in red color. And the second strip, I'm just going to put in any different color. I'm going to have this as, I'm just going to give this as blue color or the green color, so red and green. So let me execute this, and this is what I'm going to end with. Or whatever the color you want, you can decide what type of colors you require. So based upon that, you can have any flag color with the strips. So now once this is done, I need to draw a pole now. So to draw a pole, I'm just going to say GL color 3F, so that I want even the pole to be of different color. And so GL color 3F, and let me have this pole in the white color, and so I'll be having 1 1 1, or whatever color you are going to have. And this is going to be a rectangular, and so GL rectf I, and the first points is going to be, so now if you just observe, now this is the point where I'm going to start with, that is 100. So the x value of this pole should be behind this, and so I'll be using this as 90. The x value is 90, and the y value should be 450 for the first corner point of rectangle, and the next x value is going to be 100, and the y value is going to be something like 50. I'm going to give this as 50. So now save this, and execute. So I'm just going to have this as the pole. Fine. So now if I want to increase this size, I'm just going to give this as, instead of having 450, let me give this as 460. And if I'm going to execute this, I'm just going to have this as in flag. So this is going to be a flag and the pole, and whatever the color you want, you can define later on. You can define what are the color you require. Just try with the combination of color. So this is going to be the animation for the flag, and right now the program what we have built is going to give me a complete animation of a flag. But what all I just told you, so let us control the flag. Let us control the flag using the menu option. And so through menu option, I should be able to control the flag. So for that, either in the main function or my init function, let me bring in the menu concept. And for that, I'm going to say GLUT. So create menu. I'm just going to say GLUT create menu, and I'm just going to use the menu function for this, or I'm just going to say main, or I'm just going to say flag, or let me give it as menu itself. Fine. So GLUT create menu. I'm creating a menu, and for this I need to add the entry, and so GLUT add menu entry. The first entry is going to be the first entry, whatever I'm going to have the label, what I'm going to give is going to be, if I want to start the animation, let me give this name as start, and the value is going to be 1 for me. And similarly, I'm going to add the second entry, so which is going to be stop, and this is going to be the value as 2, and the next entry, let me give this as exit. If I want, I can exit from the program, and this is going to be 3. And whatever the menu I'm going to create, I'm going to attach this menu for the right button of my mouse, and so GLUT right button. Fine. So now whatever the menu I have been passing as a variable or parameter for this is going to be a user defined function, which I'll decide what exactly it should happen in this function, and GL menu, so which takes one variable as an option, and so I will say int n. And inside this I'm going to have switch case, or I can have if statement. So if the value of n equals 1, that is if the value of start is equal to 1, so I'm going to have a flag called as animation flag, hence I will say any flag. So any flag, I will just set it to this 1. So if the value of n is equivalent to 2, that is I need to stop the animation, hence in that case, so let me give this animation flag or any flag as 0, where I need to stop the animation. Fine. Hence I'll just put it as else, and if the flag value or if the variable what I got from the menu is 3, then I need to exit, hence I will say exit of 0. It is going to exit from the program. Hence once this is done, so GLUT post read display. We need to read display 2. So just save this program and compile this. So there is error because animation any flag also should be declared as a flag, hence so comma any flag equals 0. That is, if you want the animation to start immediately after program execution, make it 1. If you want to have a static flag, make it 0. And so depending upon this is the entire animation which is going to happen. And so let me put this entire thing in a block where this should be executed only when the animation flag is 1. If the animation flag is 0, so this variable should not be altered, and so which is not going to bring in the animation into my program or into the flag what I have been designed with. Fine. So when this is done, save this, compile and execute. Now this is going to be the animation by default, and if I right click the mouse button, I'm going to have 3 options which I've just added with. So if I say start, the animation will start it, and if I say stop, there is no animation. If I say start, the animation of the flag will start again, and if I exit, it's going to exit from the program. And now this is what all I wanted to discuss in this video. Thank you for watching. If this video was useful, do like and comment about it. And for further such videos, subscribe and share. Thank you.